All right.
So, Deshnee, thank you for your time and your participation this morning. Um, to start off, I wanted to ask if you could share some insights about your role at Vale.
Uh, Thank you, Brooke. So I am the Director for Finance and Business Development for Base Metals. In the role, I am responsible for the business's financial strategy, planning, forecasting, and also on the investment side for both planning and management of that. I also lead the global business development agenda, and that's all the way from strategic origination to execution. And that includes your traditional M&As, JVs, and structured operations. With
No
the
problem.
business's leading position in nickel, as well as our significant copper contribution, our scale creates a lot of leverage and exciting opportunities.
Thank you. Uh, Now I wanted to ask you, because it's such an important message for us in terms of sharing our stories, and learning from each other as we are striving to be a learning organization. Could you speak a bit about any hurdles you've overcome to, one, be who you are, and also get to the point where you are in your role, within the mining industry and with Valley in particular?
Thank you for the question. So I entered the South African mining industry as an Anglo-American bursary holder all the way back in 1995. That is just post South Africa, freedom. So in a post-apartheid South Africa, that created a very interesting dynamic for me as well. So from a South African point of view, I'm actually classified as a historically disadvantaged South African. So coming in as that, and then when women were severely underrepresented in the industry, certainly created its own challenges and hurdles. So I faced racism, I faced harassment, sexism, and I think in those formative years, also a lot of ageism. I was a young graduate. I focused, in terms of rising above all of these discriminatory factors. I focused on getting the job done. I focused on building a can-do brand. I focused on seizing and, in fact, sometimes creating opportunities for me. But more so, I really focused on the purpose of why I was doing what I was doing, and it was really to create the inroads on the less traveled path for women in the industry, so that I could enable other women to travel this path as well. And I really pushed myself, even against some of those odds, to make sure that I could do that.
Well, thank you for sharing that and sharing your experience and insights. And it really leads into one of my next questions in terms of, we have a commitment to create, and we specifically say an authentically, diverse and inclusive organization. And so I wanted to ask, what does that look like, in terms of what you do, and what can other leaders do to really make a difference on that, on this front?
I mean, there's a lot to do in this space, right? In my previous role, specifically, I focused on hard rewiring the business. And that started off with the leadership commitment towards, towards D&I, overall gender diversity and inclusion, but specifically, on women. I did some pretty radical stuff. So I mandated at some point the hiring of women only across the entire business. I accelerated women talent development. And I mean, that was to fill that much needed development advancement gap we see in the industry. I created women and family friendly policies and practices, something I'd love to unpack at some point. I also included gender diversity targets into third party contracts. So not only focus on what we were doing, but made sure that I put third party contractors under pressure as well. Preferentially selected women led CSR initiatives within the communities. And on occasion, when I did my road shows on the sites, I actually chose to meet some women only, and especially within the community, So that is what I call the hard rewiring. Don't inundate the initiatives, through the organization. Naturally, or make this a far more organic feel.
Thank you. Definitely lots of lessons for us to learn and share with you and from you in your time at Valley. Absolutely. Thank you. We're going to segue a bit. I wanted to talk about the Global United Nations Women's Theme for International Women's Day. And for 2021, the theme is Women in Leadership. What are your thoughts on this theme?
I love the theme, as I've loved all of the previous International Women's Day theme. The imperative for gender diversity and inclusion is understood, and there's so many facts out there, right, supporting the business case for why this is important. Despite the facts and many papers that have been written, from the Harvard Business Reviews to the many management consulting papers we've seen to the UN studies, we still feel that as a woman we have to demonstrate that this is in fact the case. So simply put, diverse companies with diverse leadership return better bottom line performance. That's a fact. Okay. So given how mining companies are evolving right now with increased ESG focus, social investing, increased stakeholder pressure, stricter regulations, digital transformation, and now on the back of COVID, the Build Back Better agenda, I believe that mining is in such a transformational juncture right now. So bringing everything together, Brooke, increased woman leadership can certainly create the catalyst for the change that the industry needs right now. So I love the agenda.
Thank you, and we're grateful, very grateful for that, and to have you speak to it as well, especially with all of your vast experience on the front lines, but also at the corporate levels as well. I'm going to jump to the next question because I feel that you've answered, your answer was so rich in terms of what can we do and what did you do to really walk the talk as a leader. And so my final question to you would be, what advice can you provide young women and girls who want to pursue leadership roles in this industry?
Yeah, fantastic question. It's almost like the question that the advice that you'd give your 20-year-old self, right?
Right.
I think the first thing would be dream big. Don't be constrained by thinking, or don't let your thinking be constrained by the limitations of the past, of what women could do, or worse, what they were allowed to do. So dream big. Secondly, mentally prepare yourself to take your career in any direction. Learning and stretching your ability must become a DNA. That's something that I felt very strongly about. Seize opportunities. Women don't seize enough opportunities. So be prepared to seize those opportunities. And as I said, create a few. Don't wait for an opportunity to come your way. Also create a few. Work at home, and I think especially now on the back of work from home, can definitely find some symbiosis. And my advice to young women who also want to think about family, don't think it's one or the other. It can definitely work. I've lived my life looking at an integrated model. I think now, especially with work from home, that's definitely possible. Think about support networks and think about partnerships in this space. And the last point would be stay hungry, but stay humble. And the purpose is to uplift others, especially women, in this journey.
Deshnee, thank you so much.